It's a glorious day today, ladies and gentlemen. 1 week to go till British summertime. I can hardly wait to step outside and soak up that vitamin D. In the meantime, Deeper Learning Super Sampling 5 at the end from Nvidia has been greeted with such apathy that some people in certain quarters are sticking up for this. Now, I got a little bit of flack in my comment section regarding my overview of that Grace Ashcroft rendering with grok, or as I like to call it, cock video this week. And honestly, I heard your feedback and I think I'm even going to dial it back on the AI slop that I do produce every now and then on my channel. So with that going forward, folks, let's take a look at this IGN article to see what Mike York, a former developer on the GTA series and PlayStation games, had to say about this.
Her voice may be almost as important to gamers as Lara's double pistols, curves and skimpy shorts.
Kung Fu Hot Dog
is a Kung Fu renegade cop. Now he must defeat the most evil Kung Fu master in the world.
For a modern gaming audience.
Get ready for a new world of unspeakable adventures.
I said, Mummy, I like the way the lady runs.
Get ready for a new world of unspeakable adventures never before shown in a motion picture. Get ready for
Kung Fu Hot Dog.
It's re-rendering the game. It turns out game artists don't love DLSS 5 despite Nvidia's claims, because Nvidia want to make sure that their market share is relevant over AMD and Radeon, which, to be honest, I do like Nvidia. I haven't really tested out the Radeon Hellhound card I've got yet. That's going to happen this year. But I've got a funny feeling that I might lean into that a little bit more. So again, the early reveal this week with the DLSS 5 working neural rendering into its AI technology suite for the graphics cards. The company claims that game developers were on board. Of course they were, because all the consultations that you never took part in the Zoom call or making an in-person visit, they all happened in your imaginary sloppy AI minds, did it not? Nvidia. Both Assassin's Creed Shadows and Resident Evil 9 Requiem were used to show off the new technology, but it seems like art doesn't mirror real life, because both Ubisoft and Capcom teams were horrified at what they saw, all their work being bastardized, and what for? Just to prove a point and to try and sell a product. We found that at the same time as the public, Capcom's art team said, and were particularly shocked and worried by Resident Evil's trailer, given the company's anti-AI stance with previous RE games. Now, this is something that I want to say here, because I mentioned the fact that in my previous video that if you're taking away the original vision of the developers' environments, the characters, everything else, it's like me walking into a gallery with a paintbrush and going up to the Mona Lisa and giving her a moustache and beard. Now, some people might actually say that's going to be an improvement on what we already have, but secondly, I have no right to do that because it's a masterpiece onto itself. Now, the Capcom art team definitely wasn't alone in its reaction to the technology. Animator Mike York, who has York Street Games YouTube channel, who has worked on a wide variety of games, including Death Stranding 2, streamed a reaction to Digital Foundry's DLSS 5 video, and in it he paused several moments of the game or the trailer to point out some of the more crucial changes that the neural rendering tech made into the games. For instance, York points out that the DLSS 5 enabled Grace Ashcroft's eyes point in 2 different directions, along with extra details like wrinkles in her lips, again this is flux, and an ear with a completely different shape. But more than that, York contends that rather than just fixing the lighting and some materials like Nvidia has claimed, The geometry hasn't changed in the computer, York said. So you're playing the game and geometry isn't changed. He's right, but he has to be careful on how he phrases it, says IGN. The geometry isn't being changed, but what's happening is that it's getting painted over. Every single frame is being painted over. It's actually not showing the real geometry anymore. It appears that when the new DLSS 5 algorithm is using generative AI to generate entirely new images that are anchored to the original frames, that would account for the strange aesthetic differences and changes in background scenery. What do you think of DLSS 5? When including my vote, 79.4% says it's too much AI slop. Remember, Satya Nadella of Microsoft is all in favor of this. His new hire, Asher Sharma, wants to push this in your favorite video games. Can you imagine the new Gears of War titles coming out in the future where they may not creep that particular DLSS 5 into the game to make Marcus Phoenix and Dom Santiago's faces worse than ever before? You're not going to like that, are you? I don't know if you can actually disable that from the start, but it should be something that shouldn't be really there in the first place, because again, you're degrading, actually I would even call it a degradation than an improvement on the game's textures already, because years and years ago when you're buying video games you might say, yeah, this is a bit goofy, this is a bit janky, I would like to see some realistic textures, but I don't think anybody's ever cried out for absolute realism. Now when I showed the transformation of Grace's face, unintentional rhyming right here, again, I think with the DLSS off, she looks fine. She looks very attractive. Again, I suppose the whole point of Grace's character is that she's a cut and paste of Jill Valentine, maybe Ashley Graham from the previous iterations. That's the running joke with Capcom. They can't seem to design a proper original female face. Even Sheva Alomar from RE5, you could say, has similarities to her female counterparts. I think it's a very fascinating argument that's taking place here. I think it's only going to get worse before it even gets better at this stage, and honestly, the more that people push back on this, the more Nvidia might have to sit back and rethink its strategy going forward. But on that one, ladies and gentlemen, if I were you and if you were me, I'm gonna catch you catching me for the return of the next video.
I don't like anthropomorphizing AI. I sort of believe it's a tool. It is got intelligence, if you want to give it that as moniker, but it's not the same intelligence that I have, right? I think one of the most unfortunate names is artificial intelligence.
But I fucking hate liars.